Okay, so we're going to look at section 5.5. This time we're factoring quadratics in the same form as 5.4. However, this time our a value is not going to equal 1, and we do it by a method called decomposition. So there are more steps involved. 5.4 is called simple factoring quadratics, because once you have the numbers, you put them in the bracket. This one, not so much. You got some steps involved, and like I said, it's called decomposition. Now, because the a value does not equal 1, this time to find the product, we have to take the a value and multiply it by the c value, and it will still equal, the sum will still be the b value. So here, the product is 3 times -2, which is -6, and the sum is still -5. Okay, so now I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to -6, but add to -5. So once again, you go through the numbers that multiply to 6. 1 and 6, 2 and 3. Which combination will multiply to a -6 and add to a -5? And again, there's only one answer, and it is 1 and 6. Which one is negative? The 6. Make sure you check this. 1 times -6, -6. 1 plus -6, -5. It can't be these two. Some people think, oh, -2, -3, that adds to -5. But what does it multiply to? It multiplies to +6. So there's only ever one right answer. Okay, so I know my numbers are 1 and -6. I just don't take those numbers and put them in the bracket anymore. Okay, I have steps to do. What I have to do with it, I have to rewrite the middle term with these numbers. So instead of writing -5x, I'm going to put these numbers in instead. So I'm going to do 3x squared. Because this is positive, I write plus x. Remember, there's a 1 understood here. This is negative, minus 6x minus 2. I haven't changed the value, because I know 1 minus 6 is -5. I just rewrote this with these numbers here. Okay, that's your first step. Then you're going to factor by grouping, and we did this in section 5.3 when we did common factoring. And if you're unsure, you can always go back and re-watch that video. So I'm going to factor by grouping by looking for the common factor between the first two terms and the common factor between the last two terms. So I look at my 3 and my 1 and look at the biggest number that divides evenly into both of them, which is 1. Then I look to see if x is present in both, and it is. So I take out the one with the lowest exponent value. I put a bracket, divide 3x squared by x to get 3x. Divide x by x to get 1. Remember, whatever this sign is comes down. I look at the 6 and the 2, look for the biggest number that goes into both of those, which is 2. Is x present in both? And it is not, so I don't include it. There's my common factor of -2. Now I take each of these terms and divide by -2. So -6x divided by -2 is 3x. -2 divided by -2 is +1. If at this point you do not see these brackets the same, you know you made a mistake. It has to be the same. Either you picked the wrong numbers or you factored by grouping incorrectly. So I see this as my common factor, 3x plus 1. What goes in the other bracket? X minus 2, and I'm done. You know you're done when you are multiplying. Okay, let's look at some more examples. Okay, let's look at this one. Now, when we did section 5.4, you were prompted to look for a common factor always first. You won't be prompted anymore, you'll be expected to. So before I even begin looking at product and sum, I look to see if I have a common factor between 6, 13, and 5. So once again, I look for a common factor between 6, 13, and 5. And the biggest number that divides evenly into all of those is 1. x is not present in all of them, so I know I don't have a common factor. So now I look for my product. Remember, I take my 6 and I multiply it by -5 to get -30. And it needs to add to 13. So now I'm looking for the numbers that multiply to -30, but also add to 13. So because it multiplies to a negative, I know that one of my numbers has to be negative, not both of them. Okay, so I look for the numbers that do that, and the numbers are 15 and -2. Those add to 13, but also multiply to -30. Once you do that, you rewrite the middle term with those numbers. So 6x squared, the order you write the numbers doesn't matter, plus 15x minus 2x minus 5. Once again, I factor by grouping these two together and then the last two. So I look for the common factor between 6 and 15, which is 3. Look for is the variable present in both? Yes, include the lowest, which is x. Divide them each by 3x. So 6 divided by 3, 2. X squared divided by x, x. 15 divided by 3, 5. X divided by x, the x is crossed out. Whatever this sign is, comes down. I look for what's common here. And if you notice, there isn't anything common between 2 and -5 other than 1. X is not present in both. So I'm going to divide each of these terms by -1. So -2x divided by -1, 2x. -5 divided by -1, 5. Again, the brackets are the same. They have to be the same. If they are not, then you've made a mistake. Okay, so take the bracket as the common factor, and then what's in front of the bracket goes into the second one. Okay, same idea. Once again, I'm looking for a product of 15 times -2, -30, a sum of -7. So looking for two numbers that multiply to a negative and add a negative. So you go through the numbers that multiply to -30, and the two numbers should be -10 and +3. They multiply to -30, but also add to -7. Once you have your two numbers, you rewrite the middle term with them. The order you write it does not matter. This one has an x and a y, so I include the x and the y. If the sign here is negative, I write subtraction. If the sign is positive, I write addition. Once again, I group these together, So here, my common factor between the first two is 5x. Divide them each by 5x, I get 3x minus 2y. Bring down this sign, I look for what's common between the two, and it is a y. Divide each of them by y. Once again, my brackets are the same, that's my common factor, and this goes in my last one, my last bracket. Okay, let's look at the last one. Once again, you should be always looking for a common factor before you even begin. And again, you will not be prompted. So I look at the 8, the 10, and the 12, look for what's common in all of them, and I can see that they're all even, so 2 goes into them. Then I look at x, is it present in all? It is, include the one with the lowest. Is y present? No. Divide everything by 2x, so I end up with 4x squared minus 5xy minus 6y squared. Okay, looks like that. Even though it's factored, it's not fully factored because this can be still factored, just like this one. So now I look for a product of -24. I look for a sum of -5. What two numbers do that? Well, that would be -8 and +3. I take those numbers, rewrite the middle term. I can't just ignore this common factor. It's part of my solution, so I include it. So I have 4x squared minus 8xy, because my 8, plus 3xy minus 6y squared. Again, I keep my common factor there. I'm going to group these two together and these together, looking for what's common. So between the 4 and the 8, 4. X is present in each. divide them each by 4x, so I get x minus 2y. Bring down the sign. Look for what's common here, which is 3y. Divide them each of these terms by 3y, so I end up with x minus 2y. I'm feeling pretty confident because these are the same. What goes in the second bracket? 4x and then the 3y. And don't forget to include that 2x. Now this is fully factored. This is a y.